Alexander Volkov puts Jairzinho Rozenstruik away in the first round. It makes it look easy outside of getting hit by like 1 or 2 left hooks. Man, was Volkov on point. And not only that, how good is Tom Aspinall? Tom Aspinall ran through this guy. This win for Volkov makes the performances of Tom Aspinall and Ciryl Gane over him age so well because number 1, it tells you how good Aspinall is as an overall fighter, and number 2, Ciryl Gane is the only fighter in the UFC to outstrike Alexander Volkov for the whole fight. And honestly, they didn't even make it look that difficult doing it. These younger guys like Aspinall and Ciryl Gane are showing to be so much better the more these veterans put on performances. But back on Alexander Volkov, he fought intelligent from a distance, kept the fight at range, picking at Rozenstruik with leg kicks, some body kicks, and right straights that were kind of pawing out there. They weren't committed with a lot of power, and there was a reason for that. Volkov is a calculated heavyweight striker, and you don't see many of them. He was using his right straight as a range finder, gauging the distance as well as seeing Rozenstruik's defense, which is always the same. Rozenstruik pulls away. Upper body leans away from every punch you throw. This is a continuous pattern in every single fight of his. And against such a longer fighter like Alexander Volkov, that defense is eventually going to put him into trouble as soon as his back hits the cage. Once Rozenstruik's back hit the cage, that lean back motion, that defense that he has, becomes non-existent because the cage is behind him. There's only so far he can lean back. And not only that, Volkov can use the cage to know how far his punch has to go in order to connect on Rozenstruik, because Rozenstruik is going to lean back. The furthest he can go is into the cage. So the cage itself, the surface of the fence, is the maximum distance Volkov knows that he has to throw his right hand, and that's why he was able to catch Rozenstruik so easily with all of his power. He knew that was when he had to throw his power into it, because he already found out the range earlier. He sees the surface of the fence to maximize the range that he needs and knows the defense of Rozenstruik, so he knew at that moment altogether, this is when I hurt this guy. And he did it perfectly. And Volkov was so focused, even after catching Rozenstruik with his right hand, he still had the mindset to keep range on him. His game plan was always there. He backed away, got into a little bit further of a range. When he saw that Rozenstruik was all wobbly, that's when he bolted him down with combinations. Some people are going to say it was an early stoppage. I don't think so. Yeah, Rozenstruik didn't get finished with a ground and pound because of the blows, but you don't necessarily need the fighter to hit the ground for the ref to think about calling it off, because it was a bad look. The ref saw Rozenstruik lose his balance 3 times and saw his mouthpiece get blasted out to the side. I mean, getting bombarded by a heavyweight, and that's another thing people have to remember. This is heavyweight. The damage racks up quickly. So if anything, the ref should be looking to call it off faster for the heavyweights than for the lower weight classes, just to save him from further brain damage. So I don't think it was an early stoppage. I think it was a good stoppage. We didn't see Rozenstruik get too hurt. Even if the ref was looking to stop it later, it would have been stopped later. Rozenstruik was done. So it was a good call from Herb Dean. Now I honestly have to question Jairzinho Rozenstruik's game plan. What was he trying to do in this fight? Because the way he was approaching it was certainly not going to give him a big chance of winning this. He was only looking to counter Volkov's kicks, more specifically after catching some of them so he can swing in those big left hooks. But waiting on someone as long and as tall and as calculated as Alexander Volkov is not a good game plan. And on paper, it was a very bad fight for Rozenstruik, because he's fighting a guy who's much longer than he is, who's good at keeping range on opponents, a sharp striker with clean technique. And Rozenstruik himself is a slow-paced fighter who doesn't move. He literally is stationed where he fights. He tries to counter you and make you come at him, and that's not going to work against such a long fighter like that. And he pulls away from all punches. One defense against everything. Against Volkov, that's not going to work at all. If I did make a prediction video for this fight, I definitely would have Volkov as a confident win. Stylistically, Volkov is one of the hardest fights for Rozenstruik in the entire division. He had to really make something work and tap into his IQ here. Forget about the power, forget about all that stuff. He had to really devise some kind of game plan, or his corner had to get this done, because his normal methods of fighting was not going to do it. He needed to adjust and do something else. So good performance by Alexander Volkov. He didn't really call out an opponent, but he says he's willing to fight anybody that's available because a lot of the other heavyweights are fighting later this year. Here's the issue with the heavyweight division for Alexander Volkov. Number 1 all the way to number 6 are booked. Volkov is number 7, and he just beat number 8 Rozenstruik. Right, Ciryl Gane is fighting Tai Tuivasa, which is a horrible fight for Tuivasa. Stipe is going to be fighting John Jones. Curtis Blaydes is fighting Tom Aspinall. The next guy that makes sense, I guess, is number 9, Chris Daukaus. But man, we got to cut that guy some slack. He needs to fight someone lower than himself right now, because he's on a losing streak and he's getting knocked out all over the place. Number 10, Martin Tibur, already fought Volkov and lost. Sergey Pavlovich, who's number 11, is fighting Derek Lewis. I guess you can do Volkov versus Shamil, who's number 12. Does Volkov really want to fight that low in the rankings? Or is he just going to wait it out? He just fought twice this year. Perhaps he could try to get a fight later in the year. Instead of trying to fight 4 times, he could fight 3. That would be the best thing for his career moving forward, instead of risking a spot fighting Shamil, which I don't think Shamil should win, but you never know with a heavyweight fight. So tough position for Volkov. I would say probably wait it out. And as for Rozenstruik, they could put his fight together with Tybura. Marcin Tybura versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik was supposed to happen this year on February 26th, but it didn't happen. It got moved to April 9th, and then Tybura got sick, so you could put that fight together again. That makes a lot of sense. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown, and if you did, make sure to give this a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.